Hi everyone, I'm Ashley from the blog Sewrella. I'm here today with Lion Brand to bring you this awesome video tutorial on my Griddle Stitch Christmas stocking. I'll be using some Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick bonus bundle for these stockings, and it'll just take one skein of yarn for each jumbo-sized extra cuddly squishy stocking. I'll be going over the Griddle Stitch pattern, which are the white and gray ones pictured here. The red stocking is a basket weave stocking that you can find over on my blog. Let's go ahead and get started with this awesome Woolies Thick and Quick bonus bundle yarn. This is a new package of Woolies Thick and Quick that Lion Brand is bringing us. You can find it on lionbrand.com, linked in the description box below. This is awesome squishy thick yarn. I'm going to be using an NP or 10mm hook for this project, and it will just zoom along. This is a great beginner project for anyone wanting to make some fun, festive Christmas projects this year. I'm just going to be hitting on the main points in this video tutorial. Make sure that you click the link in the description for the written pattern below and follow along the written pattern and catch up with me as I show you the different stages of this Griddle Stitch crochet stocking. So beginning here, we're going to start with a magic ring, or a magic circle as some call it. We're going to chain one, and we're going to work 6 single crochets into the magic ring. We are starting with the toe portion of this stocking, so the very bottom part, and we're going to be working in a spiral. So what that means is we're not going to join our rounds. We are going to just keep working around and around in a spiral all the way up the stocking. So we are not joining our rounds. Make sure you're counting your stitches or using a stitch marker to make sure that you are always starting and ending in the right spot. So here we have round 1 done. We're just going to pull on that tail of the magic ring to cinch things up. And then we'll just continue on with the toe portion. If we look at the finished stocking, we can see that here at the bottom, our toe portion is just a bunch of even single crochets before we get up to the griddle stitch area where you see all of this lovely texture. We can see here the edge of where that toe portion kind of ends and the stitch changes. So go ahead and work up all of this toe portion. We can see that this is the very beginnings of that area, and I'm going to catch back up with you once we've gotten past that. So here I have finished the toe portion on my gray stocking, and I have worked all the way around up through the finishing round of the toe, and we're ready to go ahead and start the griddle stitch. So you can see here on my cream colored one, the griddle stitch has all this lovely texture and a little bit more going on, but the griddle stitch is actually very, very easy. You may have even stitched it before. All we're going to do is keep working in a spiral as we have been. And we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, so we can see that there, and then in the next stitch we're going to double crochet. And then we're just going to keep repeating that around for the entire round. So we can see the single and then the double there. And we should have 24 stitches in each round at this point, so a nice even number to single, double, all the way around, and you should end on a double crochet stitch. As you work in these spirals and keep going around and around, you should start to notice that as your rows stack up and you do several rows of this griddle stitch, you should see that your single crochets are on top of double crochets and vice versa. So you have singles on top of doubles and doubles on top of singles, and that's what creates the lovely subtle texture to the griddle stitch and gives it such a squishy, cozy look to this stocking. So I'm going to catch back up with you once we have finished the first griddle stitch portion and we are ready to work on the heel. So here I've worked several rows of our griddle stitch, and we can see the texture starting to take shape. This gray marble Woolies Thick and Quick just really adds to the texture of this pattern. So it's really, really great and really just has a lot going on for such a simple project. So we can see here, if we compare to the cream, we can see that we've worked up until this point where the heel lies. And the heel is this part I'm talking about that's this kind of L shape over here in the corner. That would be the heel of our stocking if this Christmas stocking was an actual sock. So what I've done here moving forward is I've just single crocheted in the next 12 stitches, so that's halfway around my 24 stitch row. I've chained one and I've turned. And now I'm going to work back the other way in those 12 stitches, and I'm going to single crochet in each stitch across. And I'm going to keep repeating this for a few rows until I've built up sort of a flap on one side of the stocking. Later we're going to compress this down and we're going to sew it up, and it will create the shape that we're talking about. Right now it looks a bit confusing and it doesn't quite look like the heel of a stocking, but I promise if your project is looking how mine is and is looking a bit oblong on one half of your tube at the moment, your tube of stitching, and looks a bit like this, you are on the right track. Go ahead and make several rows of this, chaining one and turning after each 12 sets of single crochets. So here we've worked up a few rows following again the written pattern. And we can see here if we flatten things that now we can see that this is kind of the corner of our stocking, and then we will continue working up beyond this point. So if we look at our finished product, we can see how this is starting to take shape, and these look very similar. So in order to finish off the heel, what we need to do is take some scissors and we need to snip our yarn using leaving a little bit of tail so that we can sew up this heel. So go ahead and finish off the yarn, so just yarn over and pull through. And then I'm going to use a jumbo tapestry needle or darning needle or yarn needle, and I'm just going to thread that needle and then whip stitch this heel up. So you want to smush things as you can see me doing here, and then just whip stitch along in all of those stitches on top. And then once you've whip stitched all the way down the heel here, we're just going to weave in this tail, and we're going to be starting again by joining our yarn from our big ball of Woolies Thick and Quick to what is now the opening of the stocking. So our opening shape and kind of how things are configured have changed a little bit since we've created this heel sticking out, and our opening is now going to be the round which you see that we've created by stitching this heel closed. Now moving forward, go ahead and grab your yarn tail and make a slip knot, tightening that onto your hook, and then we're going to turn our stocking over where this heel starts in this corner. Now the stitch right before that actual corner takes place, go ahead and join your yarn there and then chain up one to get going, and we're going to work up the side of the heel first. So up here in this kind of rough edge, it's not a smooth edge like you see here that's easy to stitch into. We're going to be working along the rough edge of the heel, and what we need to do is we need to make 6 single crochets up each side of the heel. So however you need to make that happen, you should make 1 single crochet in the end of each row. I've calculated the pattern to fit nicely with 1 stitch in each row here, and then you're just going to work back down the other side, and you should have 6 single crochets on each side. What this is doing is making up for the 12 stitches that we used to make that flap for the heel. So go ahead and stitch all the way back down that other side, and then once we reach the regular portion of our stocking and we're not working on the heel any longer, go ahead and proceed with the griddle stitch. So we've single crocheted, we're going to double crochet, single crochet, double crochet all the way around, and since now at this point our rounds should be back to 24 stitches per round, we can just proceed with the griddle stitch as we did before working on the heel, and we can see how this is just ending up kind of seamlessly, and we're going to proceed with the griddle stitch along, again working in a spiral just as if the heel wasn't there. So just treat these rounds working up the side of the heel and around just as you did before we did the heel. So just go ahead and keep working that griddle stitch around and around and around for several more rows. And once we get back to where the heel starts and we have all these single crochets coming up and down the heel portion, we're going to just keep continuing on with our griddle stitch. So here where we had that chain 1, we're just going to go ahead and continue with our griddle stitch working into that area and then continue on. So we should wind up with again an even number of stitches in each round moving forward, and we should just be able to keep griddle stitching, winding up with single crochets on top of doubles and double crochets on top of singles. And I'll catch back up with you when we're ready to start the cuff. So here we have finished with all of our griddle stitches. We have worked a whole bunch of rows and worked up the height of this stocking. It's hard to get the entire thing in frame here, but here's the bottom where the toe is, there's the heel, and then we've worked all the way up here with these griddle stitches. You can see all this great texture. That gray marble yarn is just so great for adding even more texture to an already kind of bumpy and lovely looking stocking. So here we can see I'm in the middle of one side of the stocking, so I've stopped here in the middle in my rounds working in spirals, and I'm just going to start working on the cuff, which is made up of just single crochets. So I'm going to switch from griddle stitching to just plain single crochets, and I'm going to keep working in spirals and continue on as I have been, making the stocking even taller, and just do plain single crochet. So you can see how this is starting to even out here and really kind of straighten up. So here I've worked all my rows of single crochets, and I've stopped again here in the center of one side of the stocking, and you can see where it switches from griddle to single crochet, and it just creates some dimension and a little bit of extra texture and a little bit of diversity within the stitches here. So go ahead and finish off your yarn and fold down your cuff. So I'm going to fold down until the point where I switched from griddle to single crochet. So all of my single crochet rows are going to fold over on top of the griddle stitching. That's an easy way for you to see where to fold the cuff to get a nice, thick, pretty cuff on your stocking. So now once we've folded this over, we are going to start with the hanging loop, so that loop that's on the top of your stocking, to hang it on a hanger or on the mantle. So go ahead and start with a slip knot, and we're just going to identify the corner, the side, and I'm working on the corner that's above the heel, not above the toe, and go ahead and join your yarn. Just kind of find the one stitch that's right in the edge there. It doesn't have to be exact, just wherever you want your loop to lie. And I'm chaining up 8. So here I have a chain of 8, and I'm just going to slip stitch back down into the exact same stitch. So in the same stitch that I joined my yarn to, I am slip stitching to secure that loop. Now I want my loop to be a little bit thicker so that it can hold a nice full stocking stuffed with goodies. So I'm going to turn my work, and I've chained 1, and I'm just going to work 8 single crochets into this loop. I'm not going in the actual chain stitches themselves. I find that working into the loop makes for a little bit sturdier piece. So I'm working 8 single crochets into the loop just to kind of thicken this up, and I think that a thicker loop matches kind of the theme of this stocking, working with a really thick yarn and a really nice textured stitch as well. It just kind of finishes things off and makes it look a lot more professionally done. So I've worked 8 single crochets. I'm just going to slip stitch back again into that same stitch that I joined my yarn to, so all working in the same stitch here. I've slip stitched. I'm going to finish off my yarn, leaving a long tail to weave in. And then this project is done. You can add a nice tassel or a pom-pom or anything like that using some great clover tassel or pom-pom makers to finish off these stockings. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on crochet Christmas stockings using Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick bonus bundle. Thanks for watching.